Black and Brown Get Down podcast. I am your host, Mary D. Moran, and I have somebody with me.
What's up, Nate Cameron? How you doing, Mary? Good to be here again.
Good. I'm trying to pull slowly
Making this a
lure
thing.
him into
You're making this a thing.
to make it a thing. We always love to start by acknowledging the land. We are on Chitimacha and Choctaw land. We always also love to acknowledge the labor that went into making sure that this land kept flourishing and that the harvest kept coming.
Yes.
And so we're grateful for the labor and acknowledge the labor of those who put their hands in the soil and not just produce the produce that is now, but also we're talking about the mostly enslaved Africans who worked this land, South Louisiana. And so, with that,
Give thanks.
Yeah, give thanks. And also shout out to Dr. Guadalupe from last week.
So good.
It was so good.
It felt like class, but it was a good class. The kind of class that I was interested the entire time. But it was so good.
It was
dropped
good.
so many jewels. Like, I went and looked some stuff up.
Yeah.
Those movies that y'all talked about, I listed some of those movies. I think Colors was the only one I was familiar with and had seen. But so if you haven't heard that episode, go back, check it out. It's super informative.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It was really,
It
really
put me
good.
up on game.
Well, now, putting you on, our first segment, one of the movies that I actually watched, or not even movies, it's a documentary. It's on Showtime. Season 2. Season 1 is cool, but season 2 is really, really good. It's called The Trade. So under documentaries on Showtime, The Trade talks about migration and just folks who are migrating from Central America. And it's so, so good. It's like, it actually does a good job, I think, of, talking about all the layered stories and like the nuances. And so please check it out. I think it is actually pretty good. I don't know who is the director or who put it together, but it's actually really good.
I'm gonna go to my homework. Thank you you gave me a recommendation for the Flaming Hot Cheeto last episode.
Oh yeah, how was that?
I've now watched it twice because I watched it
good?
with the wife, and then my son loves Flaming Hot Cheetos. So when he saw me watch it, well, can I watch this? Is it an adult thing? So he loved it because he got to see the story of it. It's very I think it's this kind of new style of people telling their own story and then adding sort of like comedic, kind of flair to it, but it's based on truth. I think the Weird Al Yankovic documentary that he did on himself kind of had the same kind of sort of base. But, I loved his story. I loved just the whole, just how he told his story, how he presented how culture was such a big deal. And he was a trailblazer in a bunch of different ways. And so, it was dope. So I don't want to spoil it for people, but definitely go check it out. I forget the brother's name right off the top of my head.
I forget his name.
I don't want to call him the Flaming Hot Cheeto guy, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind.
Right.
He's made many coins.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm sure he would be just fine with that. I told you I met him and at the Hispanics in Philanthropy conference.
Okay.
And I'm sure he wouldn't mind, just based off of.
Nah, it was good.
Yeah. I also wanted to talk about this book, which is I'm Not Broken, Jesse Leon. Man, I have not fully read through it, but I'll just tell you, the opening kind of first few pages is him sort of talking about being on Harvard Yard and graduating. It's his commencement, and he's his mom is there, his brother is there, and he went into debt trying to fly them out to go. And they not really tripping. Anyway, his mom ends up kind of getting a little overheated and her feet are swelling, and so they end up not even seeing his commencement, his graduation, and all of the feelings. He is an amazing writer. He's talking about all of his feelings, and then he is sort of giving us a background of where he's been and what he's doing, and then he gets to the place where he's just he sat with himself in tears on that hot ass yard, and he's just comes to the conclusion of, I'm not broken.
Wow. Wow.
And so
And that's the
I
intro.
that's the intro.
Wow.
And so it was a lot to just even, sit with, but it
Yeah.
was just like, yeah,
Wow.
I'm not broken. And so I
Wow.
thought that was so beautiful because
I love that.
yeah, it's his memoir, and so I haven't like really gotten into all of it. But Sandra Cisneros, who's huge, obviously, the fact that she has a quote on his book is crazy.
Okay.
I'm Not Broken is a book for survivors and those who know someone, those who know someone they hope survives. Oh, okay.
Hmm.
I love that.
Wow.
Anyway,
So dope.
yeah, it's so he's a Mexican immigrant, like his family, San Diego in the '70s. It's really, really beautiful. I ain't gonna lie. It was he's a good writer.
Come on with the stories.
Yeah,
I love that.
some
Tell our
people have the
stories.
pen, other people don't.
Yeah.
He has the
Yeah.
pen.
Come on. That
Um,
melanated pen. Come on now.
right, right, right. What else do we have for putting you on? What you got?
So putting you on, there is an international African American museum that is opening next week in Charleston, South Carolina. Been hearing a lot about this. I have a
Oh,
couple of friends that are curators that have worked on it. I think
yo,
it's
I think
taken
I
like
know
10
the
years.
person
Really? Come
who.
on.
Wow, I'm gonna check it out, and
Tell them we
if
need
I
to
do,
go.
we'll
We
we'll
need a
go
work
to the.
trip. We
Yeah,
need a
we'll
work
go.
trip.
Not we need a work trip,
We need a
child. See,
work
that's
trip.
the problem.
Come on now.
uh,
But no, it's supposed to be the biggest museum of past African and the African American culture. And there's
yeah.
a wing that is the ancestry wing that I'm really like that I
Mm,
saw that is not only talking about and will allow people of color to do free ancestry work, I think, for 2 hours on a computer at a time. But then also there'll be like ancestry specialists on staff to help people, and then also they are in the process of making a wing that will be, I think, African artifacts that other colonialized museums once had. And
mm,
so they have a collection of things that I guess that, that other colonial museums had stolen from
yeah,
our
yeah.
people, from black and brown people in a bunch of different places. And then now they're going to be in this one space in that
Wow.
museum. So that caught my ear when I heard that, like even a year or
I
two
really
ago.
do think that I know the person. So
Wow.
a couple months ago, I was in Birmingham,
Okay.
and I think I met the person who is the.
ED or like the.
No, he's like the not the curator, but like the executive director or
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
something.
yeah. Like, okay. Wow.
So I'm gonna look, and if that
Yeah, I'm
is
going
the
to do my homework
person,
too. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
then we'll make sure we talk about it next time
Definitely.
and make sure that we give out information. But
For
yeah, he
sure.
was a real person.
Wow.
He used to, and he either created or spearheaded and kind of oversaw the whole project for the Birmingham Museum.
Yes, the article I read mentioned that it
Oh, so
was.
I think his name wasn't Ahmad or
They didn't
something.
say a name, but they mentioned that the ownership group, the other museum, was a Birmingham and something else. It was
Oh,
another.
so it might be. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm pretty sure the same
Oh,
person you're
okay, it's
talking
the same
about. Yeah,
person. Oh,
yeah.
dang! Come on, small
Yep.
world.
Wow.
The other exhibit that is up right now that is similar, but this is talking about African fashion and kind of diasporic fashion, is at the Brooklyn Museum.
Okay.
So I guess they just have oh, maybe not, but I don't know if it's the June exhibit. They have First Fridays. So if it was,
Yes.
this is the last weekend, but not that we're anywhere close to Brooklyn, but
Yeah. I mean,
um,
hey, you never know.
right, right, right. Look, if you got your Southwest points, fly
Listen,
out.
you never know. You never know. But
But
yeah, no, I thought that was cool. I think that it's important for us, for us to tell our stories, and I think it's also important for us to reclaim the stories that other people have tried to tell of our people, and us to tell them correctly. So I thought that was
100%.
dope. Definitely got to make it out there.
We are at my favorite segment, which is Black Love Brown Pride. We are here with the renowned chef Ana Castro. Welcome, bienvenida.
Gracias, muchas gracias. Hi, guys.
Okay, I don't even know where to start. Bon appetit, food and wine, all of the things. But lo que sí es que te mandas en la cocina.
Gracias. Yeah, it's a lot actually, but it is definitely not only like a team effort because I've half like gotten very lucky with my team and have like actually made intentional decisions on team building and hiring and everything to like surround myself with like just folks that like can that we know that we have like some chemistry.
I love
So
that. I love that. Yeah, it's definitely the leadership and it's the team. You
Oh,
know.
it's the hardest part for sure.
But okay, so usually people would go into all of your accolades, like chef this, these, these people said you were the best, and real life, yes, Bon Appetit said your restaurant is 50, top 50 in the nation, right? Which is a real thing. And aside from all of that, how would you like to be introduced? What's a way that usually people don't think about introducing you as?
I don't think people usually introduce me as the I'm a little bit of a clown, you know. I am with my I would like to be more introduced as a very jovial and playful person because I
Okay.
am.
Okay. And I'm sure that's part of the spirit of what's not just you, but also what you bring to the kitchen, right?
Yeah, it's important. Like, and I know that it sounds cliche to say like, oh, it's important to have fun, but it truly is important to have fun and to be relaxed about what you're doing.
Right. Especially when you're up in the White House and, shit like that, huh?
That was weird.
That was weird, was
Yeah,
it?
being in the
Yeah,
White
I
House
was
is
like,
really
yo,
weird.
she's in the White House.
Being in the White House was really weird. Most of the time, I think I was just aggravating the lady that was giving us the tour because I would just like kind of go off on my own, and she would be like, kind of like,
Come back.
and I would be like, they were like, everything in the White House is kind of like color coordinated. So everything is like, this is the green room, this is the blue room, this is the gold room, and like we go into this like I don't know. I think I took it like as my comedy bit being in the house. And I was just in a very silly, goofy mood that day, and my sister was with me, not my sister Lydia, who people would see hanging out with me constantly all around town. She couldn't come with me, so my other sister from Mexico City, my sister Barbara, came with me, and she's a little less goofy than Lydia and me. So she was very much. Also, she doesn't live in America,
Yeah.
so she's not like she doesn't live here in the U.S. right? So she's not like kind of like jaded
Yeah.
a little bit by it.
She's like, wow, this is the White House.
Yeah, so she was
Have
like,
reverence.
yeah, and then like yeah, exactly. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, this is pretty big still, but I am looking at it with a little more. So like I'm just like, oh, yeah. And I'm like touching something, and I'm like, I'm gonna touch a wall, and they're like, don't touch that wall. That was designed by Barbara Bush, It's like silk, and I was like, whoa, don't sit on that chair. Don't like, don't. But it was cool to see, like for example, like Michelle Obama's portrait, like Barack Obama, like that. That was incredible,
Yeah.
Like just trying to like walk those same halls and everything. That was very cool. For
I
sure.
love that. Yeah. Well, here you can't touch it because it's not actual. This is not the corner store. No, in fact, it is the corner store.
yes.
So we love to just start off by asking people, whose spirit do you bring to your work, and like, what are your earliest memories of community?
So I will always bring my grandmother's spirit into my work because I always said that me and Lydia, my sister, are both like anything that we amount for and anything that we amount to, that we do, that we don't do. I feel like every decision that we make for our lives is very informed by our grandmother. Like, is this gonna make her proud? Is this going to like are we representing her? Like, are we being like stewards for like our family? Like out in the world,
Yeah.
like so that's important to us. And my earliest memory of community is actually my when I was 5 years old and Lydia, my sister, was 9 months old. My parents split up very dramatically, and my mother pretty much didn't want to have kids anymore. She was pretty much like, I'm not gonna raise these kids, and we ended up going to live to Mexico. We were in the north of the country in Reynosa, in Tamaulipas, in the north of Mexico, border with Texas. Both me and my sister were actually born in Texas, but I think I was 2 weeks old when they took me to Mexico. So we're just like we literally were born in the States because my dad had the economic means to, and because I played by him to be like maybe they can have dual citizenship,
Yeah.
So it was a very conscious decision. But so yeah, when I was 5 and Lydia was 9, my parents split up, and I go to live with my grandmother in Mexico City. And since my dad, pretty much I was a product of his infidelity to his first wife, I go to Mexico City and I meet an entire side of the family that I've never met. Cousins, aunts, uncles, everyone, right? And when I'm starting to like meet people and I ask like, I'm a kid, I'm 5, Lydia's 9 months old, she's in like someone's arms, And I ask, who are you? So you start asking all these questions. And I remember looking at my dad's first wife, so my dad's ex-wife, and I'm like, who are you? And she looks at me and she tells me, I'm your aunt. And like that has stuck with me hard because she's not my aunt, you know. To this day, she's my tia Pilar, she's my aunt Pilar, but she's not my auntie. She's my dad's first wife, and you know she could have easily disregarded me and Lydia, you know, because of rage, because of anger, justified anger
Yeah.
towards my dad, towards so many things. But she instead decided to embrace us. And my dad always traveled a lot for work. He's an engineer, so so we were truly raised by a community of people,
Wow.
my uncles, my aunts, especially by a community of women.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah,
First of all, wow. I mean, we're a
yeah,
couple minutes into this and I'm already blown because I think, yeah, the amount of character and integrity to be able to say, yeah, I'm your Thea.
that's a lot.
That's a lot.
The
Yeah.
chicks and balls.
Yeah, that's a lot. And so, shout out to Tia Pilar.
Shout out to Tia Pilar, always.
Yeah. And then tell me your grandma's name just so we can invite her spirit into the
Lydia.
space. Lydia. Okay.
So every one of my cousins, all my girl cousins, all of them, all my primas, everybody shares either a middle or a first name that is like my grandmother's either middle or first name. So there's a lot of Marias and there's a lot of Lydias in my family because my grandma's name is Maria Lydia. I'm one of the few ones that doesn't have it. My full name is Ana Isabel, and it is exactly the same name as my mother's.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yep.
Well, this is amazing. Okay, so we are bringing all these people, inviting all these people into the space. So, was it your grandma who brought you to your love of food? And
Absolutely. My grandmother's is like her like love language is really truly food because she's a very severe person, you know, and she was a little harsher when we were younger. Right now she's softened up a lot with the
oh,
years.
so she's still with us.
Oh hell yeah, she's
Yeah.
thriving.
Where does she live?
They all live in Mexico City. All
Oh,
my
wow.
family except for my sister Lydia, who lives
So
here.
you were in Mexico City until
I was 23.
Oh, okay,
24,
got it,
and I'm
got it.
34 right now. So
Got
I've
it.
only
Oh,
been out
wow.
of Mexico for like maybe I was 22 when I moved. I think I've been out of Mexico for like 12 years.
Got it.
But other than that, I was raised in Mexico completely.
Oh, okay.
I went to college, everything in Mexico
And
City.
where in Mexico City?
I'm in a place called Naucalpan. So there's the actual city, like the actual like little like the neighborhood is called Satélite. So it's probably like, you know, if you've been to Mexico City, like, you know, Polanco, probably like I would say without traffic, a 20-minute drive north. So
Okay.
it's like not really DF, it's Estado de Mexico. So it's like
Yeah.
the state that surrounds the
Yep.
capital. But it's
Yep.
just like,
Yeah,
it's
there and
junto
there.
con pegado, you know? It's just like such a blob that
Yep.
it just truly just like,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, that's where I was. That's where I was raised until, yeah, everyone's there. We go super often. My grandma's thriving. We lost my grandpa, unfortunately, and like everybody thought my grandma was like gonna be like, she was sad, of course, you know. But when we told her, my dad I think was a little concerned. She's like, oh my god, I hope that grandma doesn't get like depressed or like, you know. I also called her my mother. I call her mama because I've been with her since I was 5.
Yeah.
So to me she's my mom. She was like, me? She was like sad. She was like, don't get me wrong, you know, like I'll miss him and everything, you know, but like she's like, I've been reborn. I'm ready to live again, you know. I've been with this man
Wow.
for like, you know, I think they met when they were 16 and they got married at 18 and like my grandpa passed when my grandma was like 80. So she was like, I've lived my life with him.
Yeah.
I'm ready to live again.
Yeah, I love
Actually,
that. That is such a beautiful way of thinking about it.
She was a little sick a couple weeks ago. We were in Mexico in the hospital with her, and she got a little better. She was just like an infection or something like that, like UTI or something like that, and she had a trip planned, and she was worried because she didn't want to go on her trip because she was like, maybe like, what happens if I, like, you know, get sick again and I'm like somewhere and I can't get to a doctor. And my dad pretty much looked at her and she was like, Mom, you are 85 years old. She's like, what she says, she told him, estás jugando tiempo extra. She's like, you're playing extra time, you know? She was like, anything from here on out. And she was like, if you're going to die, would you rather die in this house where you've lived for 35 years or would you rather die in Greece? And she's like, oh, I'd rather die in Greece. So my dad was like, God bless you, bye, mom.
Right.
So they took her.
Y
She
se
might.
fue.
Se fue. She's in Rome right now. Like they went on this huge trip. It was my two aunties and her and one of my uncles. They went to like my grandma always wanted to go to Greece, always. So they took her to Greece, to Rome. I think they went to Istanbul to see the Blue
Oh,
Mosque.
wow.
When I was for my 22nd birthday, I spent it in Istanbul with my sister Lydia. And when I went to the Blue Mosque, I was like blown away by its beauty.
Wow.
And I took some photos and I showed them to my grandmother. And I was like, this is unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. And I think it really like resonated deeply with her. And she was like, I want to be there. She would say, yeah. So she's hanging,
She's
chilling,
good. She's
hard.
solid. So, what's her favorite thing to cook, or how did the food, um, the love of food transfer?
Actually, it's very funny, For my grandmother, I don't think she had ever the privilege and like the chance to like look at food the way I do, because to her it was like either an obligation or work, labor, because she was the eldest of 14 siblings, and both her parents worked, so she had to like pretty much help. And then she becomes a mother, and she's the mother of 5 kids, and then she has to work, So she's always been at home doing like domestic labor pretty much. So I don't think she has, and I feel bad for her sometimes because I'm like, I don't think you've ever had the experience or the way I look at food, because you were never allowed it, because
Yeah.
you were always like it's something that you have to do.
Yeah.
It's nothing that you brings you enjoyment or anything. It's like it is your responsibility for these kids not to starve. So
Yeah.
so that is something that I did learn from that. It's about being bountiful with food, and about being like just like very abundant, right? Like I actually, even when I cook at home, I'm trying to cook for one or two people, like for me and my partner and my sister. So like, and I struggle so much to cook small amounts.
It's like,
Like I just like I'm
La
like
olla
I was like,
grande.
yeah, I'm gonna make dinner for us, and then I end up making dinner for like 12 people, and I'm just like I don't know how we got here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how we got here. I can't. I struggle so much to cook in small amounts.
So, besides bountiful, how do you look at food?
I think to me personally, right? This is something that is just like being more informed. For my grandmother, I look it as a way of telling you, like I love you. Like it's an act of service that comes from my grandma. From my grandma. For me personally, I see it as a form of self-expression because I have the privilege to do so, and to tell a story. And a story I think about like about Mexicanity. What it means to be Mexican, what it means to me Mexican, in right now, like literally right here in Louisiana right now, like what is with like in the current climate, social political climate. So, you know, and informed by like travels and past experiences. So I get to express myself, my travels, my kind of like my life voyage with it. And it's huge, It's also hard, and it's very heartfelt, and at times I feel very vulnerable from it. When someone doesn't like it, it's not like, oh, I didn't like a sandwich you made me. It's almost like, oh, you didn't like that rice dish. And I was like, oh, okay, but yeah, but that rice dish was literally based on my grandfather that died 5 years ago, and like, so you telling me that it's bullshit
Yeah.
is like, I almost take it as a direct attack on my persona, which is not healthy at all. But I do, because I feel it, and I feel it deeply, and I feel like I need to like learn how to let go of that a little bit, and or maybe I need to like scale back how much of my actual self I put out there, because not everybody deserves it.
Wow. Yeah, have some boundaries around your
Yeah,
around.
people like people. I don't know if you ever felt this, and I know I can say whatever I want here, so I will.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Say it all.
White people are starved for connection.
Facts.
Facts. Sometimes they'll try something and they'll be like, "Oh, is this like your abuelita's?" And I'm like, "No, this is mine." Like, no, not everything is my grandma. Not everything is my past. Not everything is this. And it's because I think, like we can dial it back to like what is it, the 40s or 50s with like the single family unit. Like, what is it called? Like the nuclear family unit. That is not something that
That exists.
exists for black or brown people because of economical resources, that you have to have multi-generational homes. So it doesn't really exist for us, like them mama, papa, kiddos, and that's it, and you go see grandmother in retirement home once a year on her birthday. That doesn't really play for us.
Yeah.
And I actually love it. Like, I wouldn't want it any other way. But I think, like, that connection sometimes, and I think sometimes people try to, like, pin something that it ain't, and sometimes it, but it also, like, I inherited this from my grandmother, I guess. I'm very governed by my mood sometimes.
Yeah.
So, like feeling generous and, like, silly and, like, goofy, and I'm just, like, in a very, like, but if there's something that, like, my anxiety or something is, like, or something is off on something else, I become, like, almost, like, a little more, like susceptible to comments. And I'll never be like, nah, like, like, I'll never fight it, but I'll be like, no, and I'll just walk away. So, like,
Oh
leading
yeah,
a
you can
very,
definitely tell. Like if I'm upset or if I'm not, if the boundary is up, if the wall is up, you just feel it.
you feel
It's
it.
just like
My energy is very contagious, I think, which is, like, a blessing and a curse for myself and for everyone around me. And, as a leader, I try to be very aware of it. And sometimes it affects my team, and when it does, I just, like, I apologize.
yeah,
And I make a conscious decision to try it not to, because
Yeah.
it's not fair.
it's not fair, and it's a part of the blessing.
It's a part, yeah, but it's definitely not fair. But again, I have a very good team that are very understanding, and they care for me, and they love me the way that I do, and they see me and I see them. So, like, it's very much so, like, they know that this is not they know that I'm not doing it because of, like, narcissism or anything. It's just
Yeah.
like I can't help it.
Yeah. Now you created this intentional kind of environment at your restaurant, partly because of other environments that you had been in part of.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what does the worst of it look like? And I know we've had other chefs, on the pod, and so they've talked about, like, the drinking as we enjoy our micheladas, and the drugs, and just also the lack of care for your body, resting, not having health insurance, all of the things, right? And so, what does it look like to create something that's intentional, with care and love and connection?
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's terrifying because you can still fail. You can still put all those things, and failure is
Or it
still.
could still also not be enough for people. You know?
It's terrifying, but it's worth it. I think, like, yesterday I got asked a question. It's like, what would you like to be known for, or, like, some kind of a legacy be for you? And I said making mistakes and failing. I would love for that to be my legacy. That I wasn't, not that I wasn't afraid, but that I overcame that fear
Yeah.
of failure in search of better ways to run restaurants, because restaurants are important. Restaurants are hubs for culture, for community, for connection. Like, they're great, we gathering around a table, conversations, like, restaurants are awesome. They really are. But they definitely need to be treated, I think, more as a as something. Some of the shit that, like, happens at restaurants wouldn't fly in any other environment.
Give me an example.
Like, the for example, the substance
Get
abuse.
messy with me. Get messy with me.
The substance abuse.
Oh,
The
yeah.
I got years ago, I got physically put hands on. I got shoved and pulled from, like, my chef coat, and, like, shoved down a flight of stairs. It was 4 steps and a landing, so I didn't fall or I didn't hurt myself or anything. But I told my dad that, and I think I was just, like, out of it, and I think he just slipped. And I told him that, and my dad almost got on a flight to go to New York City. And he was pretty much like, tell me who it is, because le voy a partir la madre.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill this man.
Yeah.
I am literally going to kill him.
Yeah.
When I quit my last job in New York, on my last day, my sister Lydia, that lives here, had come to New York to, like, help me pack my things and, like, just, like, drive down to New Orleans. And we all went out as a team, and, like, some of the people were like, oh, we're gonna miss you so much, and blah, blah, blah. And my sister got drunk, and she was like, fuck you.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
Fuck you, fuck you. And he was like, you're lucky. He was like, I've been wanting to beat your ass for so long. Like, Lydia's like, like, encuéntrate otra pendeja.
Yeah.
Lydia, my sister, told that to a chef that I used to work with. Is like, good luck finding another person that is as talented and as much of an idiot as this one is to, like, take your shit. She was like, today, like, like, it's over. It's over. Good luck. Fuck you. and we like, you know, and
I love how direct we are, huh?
we love it. I love it too. You know,
I
like
think
there's,
it's amazing.
you know, like I sometimes
Like
I'm
you're gonna
like,
know how I feel about you.
oh, 100%. And I always say like my opinion goes from like, you know, when people is like, can I give you my 2 cents? I'm like, can I give you my $2,000?
Yeah.
I was like, 'cause it's gonna be huge, you know. So it goes like in increments, 2,200, 2 million, you know. So like, I'm not just giving you my $2 million, but yeah, that's some of like the stuff that I, you know, been trying to get away with, because like that whole idea of like, well, you know, forged by fire, it's a hard environment, like tempers run high, and like it's all bullshit. It's just a lack of discipline.
Yeah.
It's narcissism.
Yeah.
It is a you know, it's like a complete disregard for, again, community, for people, for what makes food great, for, it's a complete disregard for it. It's a complete disregard for the fact that food is human.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard, it's challenging too, you know, of course, but also like the idea that you can't do anything by yourself ever, and you need to surround yourself by a team, and like, easier said than done.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sitting here telling you that I've never made a mistake. Man, have I made plenty, plenty.
Same.
You know, there's probably people out there that are listening to this and they're like, this bitch is full of shit.
Yeah.
You know, she yelled at me. She was awful to me. And to those people, I apologize. But, you know, some people I've had dialogues with. Some people I have not been able to. Some people I'm not ready to. Because I think there was pain on both sides.
Yeah.
You know, and some people I might never be ready to. But that's okay. You know, like life happens and it grows apart, and if anyone ever wants to engage on a conversation of such sort with me, I invite feedback, because the only is it's a gift.
Slide into your DMs.
Slide into my DMs and tell me like, oh yeah, you out here talking about like this, like whatever. You know, there's boundaries though. There's lines that I never
Yeah.
crossed. It's a lot, but
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard. I'm not gonna say it's easy.
Yeah, you're evolving and it's all happening with you.
Yeah, I'm still like, I'm 34. You know, like this.
You're
like
hella
I'm
young.
34. Yeah, like I've.
You're so young. Oh my god.
Like my mother is my first solo project.
I know.
Won't be my last.
Yo, when you said 34 earlier, I was just like, wow. Wow.
I actually didn't start cooking until like I moved to New York, when I was like my first restaurant, like my first actual restaurant job. Like, you know, put your head down, work, you're on the line and shit. I was 23, something like that.
What were you doing before then? In school?
I was in school. My dad sent me to culinary school because he like insisted that I had a degree. He insisted that I went to like a bachelor's degree, and I wanted to go to the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park. But at the exact same time, there was a huge economical crisis in Mexico, and my dad was like, I can't afford it. I mean, I still went to like a very nice and expensive private college in Mexico, because that's something else that I actually never going to like say no to. Like, yes, I am privileged in the fact that my family has economical resources, and I'm not gonna hide from it, and I'm not gonna try to pretend to be something that I'm not.
Yeah.
You know?
But your experience growing up was really,
Yeah,
it's all the things.
it's
both.
all the things.
You didn't grow up with your mother and you grew up with me. It's like all of it is connected, and
Yeah, you know, like, and like I feel like I never want to portray something that I'm not, and I never want to like, you know, I understand. I understand that being here, I understand the privilege that has brought me. I understand the hard work and blah 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 blah, and like maybe some innate, like, dare I say, talent, which is something that I'm getting a little more comfortable saying, because I usually like shell up when people start being like, oh, you're the chef, like you've done this, you've done that.
why does that?
I don't know, because
And this
I
the
try
the
to
pod, and you know, part of our work is about us saying, you know, so we talk about a lot that we are anchored in ancestry. That's a part of our mission, and partly because we always think of ourselves as like lack. Oh, you know, I'm not
imposter
this,
syndrome.
I'm not that, I'm not this, I'm not that. But we fucking created civilizations. And so everything that is good, all of the wisdom, the knowledge, the tools, the technology of ovens, of all the things, you know, especially in like your field, I feel like shit, every
Nixtamalization.
you know, all of those tools, all of those technologies, we created that. Why wouldn't we like
Own it.
own it and fully live in the greatness of who we are as a people, and also why wouldn't we live in our own greatness,
I
you
can
know?
tell you me why.
Why?
Because I'm white passing. Because I am. I mean, like, also, it is my greatest joy in life to be Mexican, and I love it. But, like, something that is important to, like, put into context is that Mexico is a colonial state.
Hello, we just had Dr. Guadalupe uh, Garcia here last week from Tulane, and she explained all the shit from the Aztec Empire and
We were thriving. They were thriving without the.
and how she was saying it was still an empire, right? So you still had to pay tribute,
Of
and
course.
especially if you were living in the city, like you had to pay tribute. And in the same way, once we had European colonization, that it was similar in that it was an empire, she said, but the way you paid tribute and what was tribute was completely night and day. So, okay, so I like this. Let's get into the color politics, because the truth is that, and I always talk about this, and it's hard, right? Because especially when you have very strong nationalism, which is like Mexico, or any place, right?
Yeah.
People always say I'm, from Honduras, and they don't necessarily are talking about, I'm indigenous, or
No.
I'm white, or I'm black, right? Unless you're black, I think usually it's like, oh yeah, I'm Garifuna. Or if you're sort of racially ambiguous, as I am, it's like, well, what the hell are you? Unless you're firm and confident in it, you don't say. And it's so many things that surround that because of what it actually means to say, like, yeah, I am white, or yeah, I am. And I hear you saying white passing. So what is white passing? What is a white passing? Is that something that you say in America but you wouldn't say in Mexico? What does that mean?
Honestly, living in America has been like a weird experience altogether. I'm grateful from it, for it, and I'm happy. But because it's like complications. But like when I say that it's white passing, to me is that I want to refer specifically to like a privilege that I occupy, and like an ease to move through our spaces and our societies and
As a
access things and everything. Because if you just saw me walking down the street and you didn't hear my talk or my accent, you would assume that I'm white. Because I look white.
yeah,
Because my mother is Italian. Because my grandpa is like yay tall. My grandpa on my mother's side is like super tall and has blue eyes. So
so your mom's side is white.
they're Italian.
Okay.
My mother's maiden name is Grosso.
Okay.
Grosso.
Okay.
And then on my mom's side, on my dad's side, they're Mexican, but like mestizos, like
Yeah.
Spanish,
Yeah.
and like my grandmother
Indigenous,
has
right.
gorgeous, beautiful, like dark skin, but I think through genetics, few of us inherited.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm inherited zero of it. My sister a little more. Some of my uncles, like my uncles and my aunts, more. But the more that you like,
Yeah.
the more you start away from it. But it's just like, I didn't choose it.
Yeah.
Like I think that's something that I'm like, makes me not like helps me accept my own skin. Is that I didn't choose it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't choose it.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm still Mexican. Like things that I do are Mexican because I made them, and I love Mexico, and I consider myself a good steward for my country and my culture and my family, and it's my greatest joy and honor in life. But it is important to me that, especially with media, and as thankfully my career takes a higher profile, a national profile. It's important to me to always be transparent
Yeah.
about a couple things that have granted me access into these spaces, whereas economical resources,
Yeah.
higher education,
Just
language barrier,
fully.
language barrier. Like I've been going to an English immersion school since I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
So I've been speaking English.
Yeah.
most of my
I'm
life.
like your ability to like some of the. So I am bilingual, but I don't. I wouldn't say I'm fluid.
Uh-huh.
Like I would say maybe I'm fluent in both, but I'm not fluid. Your ability to be fluid is like
It's
it's pretty
because
amazing.
thank you. It's because I've been like actually speaking English. I also have like a an ease for languages.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
also speak French and I speak a little bit of Italian.
Come on, get into it. Yes. I love
So
that.
thank you. So the only language I could never crack was when I lived in India. I could
So you
never
lived in India, you lived in Denmark, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so what were you doing in these places?
cooking,
Cooking.
hanging. Like that's another thing. I've had the privilege of like not having to like have an economical obligation from a young age that would impede me to pursue exactly what I wanted to do,
Yeah, yeah.
or have to make any compromises or sacrifices.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I thought we were getting more beer. We might keep talking. We gonna fill up
uh,
these bottles. Can someone thank you.
but yeah, it's like it's important to me. Also, another thing, not only do I speak English, not only does physically I present a certain way, I also was born in the United States, so I have dual citizenship,
Yeah.
so I can come and go as I please,
Yeah.
and that is huge,
Yeah.
huge.
Why do you think so we recently went with a group of leaders, all black leaders, to San Diego, Tijuana, to just understand issues of migration. Thank you.
Salud.
Salud. Salud. Let's,
Gracias. Do we pour each other's? Should we pour it?
oh yeah.
It's bad.
So yeah, it's and we were meeting with a lot of just we were trying to really understand and get the black experience of black migrants, and so we it was good because it's not something you see every day,
No.
and and one of the things that really came out was like we went to the desert, and we went to go drop water, we went to go drop supplies, and I had sent some pictures to my dad, and my dad was like, "Yeah, I went through that same desert." And I was like, "Yo, this is crazy," but a part of how you get through that desert is you got to go at night. You got to be quiet. You got to be invisible. You have to, like
It's dangerous because of
all
the
the things.
weather.
You got to make sure there's no fucking snakes around. There's all of these things, right? But you have to be quiet and invisible. And so then to come here and the only way you make it here
by being invisible.
is by being invisible or by being super visible and saying, "Hey, look at me, look at me, look at me," right? I mean, you just talked about as you gain notoriety nationally, which you will continue to because of your gifts. It's like you have to go from, and it's like these two very kind of interesting sides of the spectrum, which is you got to like put your head down and just work. And then on the other hand, you have to just be willing to step out and be so confident in saying, "Look at this thing that I have." So how do you manage all of that? And maybe you've never felt like you've had to be invisible, but I think most people do feel that way. And how do you go from being in someone's kitchen to moving up all the steps? I don't know them. Sous chef, line cook. I don't know
Yeah,
what.
that's the brigade system.
Yeah.
The ye old asshole brigade system. Escoffier.
I don't know it. Yeah.
F you.
Yeah.
Like I oppose that system altogether hard because I feel like it's being abused and it's like being repackaged into being like, oh, this is just efficiency. It's not. It's not really efficiency. It's lazy, and it's an asshole way to not want to train anyone, and it's an asshole way to not want to mentor anyone and actually invest your time into like taking care of people and bringing them up with you.
Yeah.
It's a selfish move.
Yeah.
Of course, like kitchens need structures. Of course, like a restaurant needs systems. Any business, because I think also we romanticize restaurants a whole lot, and we forget that it's a business. It's money.
It's about making money.
It's about making money. Like, I mean, if I didn't get paid, I wouldn't do it. Like, if I didn't have the prospect of, like, in the future, as, like, as my career grows, to have a more secure financial future for me and my sister, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
We wouldn't do it. Like, like, oh, no one does shit for free.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine recently told me that it wasn't called selling out, it was called cashing in.
Cashing in. I
So
like that.
I'll take that with him. Thank you,
Yeah.
Steven. The So it's a lot to hand. I think honestly that's where a lot of my anxiety stems from. I think I've always been an anxious person, but it hasn't really manifested as high as it did as it has, like, in the last 2.5 years, 3. The restaurant's been open for 2, so you do the math.
Right, right, right.
So yeah, it's like,
It's crazy because the energy of what the restaurant is seems so anti-anxiety, right?
it takes a lot of self governance
Yeah,
to
yeah.
like get there, but it is. I think I have to, like, maybe be a little better about, like, checking in on myself, and, like, not only worrying about others and my team. Although, I've accepted that, like, it is my responsibility. Like, kind of like, it is my, they are. Although I love them, I rarely ask them to do something above and beyond what their actual job description is. And if I do, I'm careful about how I ask about, like, I'm like, just because, like, like, this is not their dream.
Yeah.
They're, like, riding the wave with me, and they're putting their faith in me, and they're, like, trusted me with the responsibility of their livelihood. So that's a fucking lot already.
Yeah.
So I can't really ask them for much more, to be honest. Like, I feel very blessed that I have all of them, and that I have their candor and, like, their honesty, and, like, even some of them, their friendship. So it's also hard to draw the line, of, like, when I am, like, Chef Anna and when I am just your friend. Like, that's something that I struggle with a lot,
Yeah.
because I gravitate towards connecting with people.
Yeah.
So I'm connected in a deep, meaningful level,
Yeah.
and I want to know things about people, and I want them to know things about me. So, in a very traditional kitchen setting, that would be very, like, nah.
Yeah.
Like, no. Like,
Yeah.
you're the chef, you're, like,
Yeah.
you're up here. You're, like, this, like,
Yeah.
like, this, like, little fugazi thing, you're just, like,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be that. So, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's a balance.
A little bit of boundaries and not being everything to one person. I mean,
No.
I remember at one point I was just like, working with a person was their mentor, was their friend, was their landlord, was their, like, all the things.
Nah, it's
And
hard.
you got to have a little bit of space, and that's something that I've definitely learned for myself. But yeah, I think when you're drawn to connection and when you genuinely care about people, of course you want to be close in such a way that maybe, once you got to keep them accountable is not really,
Honestly,
is
that's
hard.
the one thing that I struggle with the absolute most, I would say, is when they are having to have conversations about some of my teammates' performances or anything. I am almost incapable of doing so. And that is, like, the one thing that I, like, struggle with the
Like, oh,
most.
not me.
I can't. Sometimes I can't. You know why? Because I don't trust myself to not revert to, like, being an asshole, or to not revert to hurting someone. So I have to learn. Sometimes I feel like I have to learn how to, like, control myself and how to express myself and how to be flexible in my communication to actually be able to give meaningful feedback, not just, like, not just, like, and, like, meaningful feedback, and, like, like, I also, like, I know, like, like, there has to be, like, structures in my asks.
Yeah.
It can't just be like, oh, well, I hate the word professionalism. I fucking hate it. Because it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
It's a blanket statement for whatever the F, like, an employer wants to say. Oh, you need to be more professional. I was like, no, why don't you tell me I need to be on time? Why don't you tell me,
Yeah.
like,
Be explicit about
be
what you
explicit,
want.
exactly. Because then if you give me
Tell me what
explicit
your
goals,
expectations are.
and you
Yep.
give me deliverables, and you give me a time frame,
Yep.
and then, people have a clear path towards being like, cool.
And that's why you don't have to really do accountability when you're so explicit in your expectations.
Sometimes I'm not.
Tell people.
I'm still learning how to be explicit in my
Me
expectations.
too. I have an amazing coach that coaches me on that. Because, yeah, I think if you tell people this is exactly what I want, because at the end of the day, you're the visionary, right? because nobody else is creating that vision. You created it, right? Lengua madre is is yours, and so how do you translate the vision? And sometimes that's you need support in doing that. How do you translate the vision to people who actually execute the vision? You know,
We have a lot of conversations.
yeah.
Um, we do a lot. I have, especially let's talk about my kitchen, especially, right?
Get into it.
So especially with my kitchen, we have a lot of like we work all around the same table during prep. So we spend a lot of time talking. And I'm not really like, okay guys, it's service time, like like no more fucking around, like we're gonna be like status. No. We actually like we continue to build upon our relationships even when service is happening. So that way when something goes wrong or when someone needs support or anything, I think we're all like even like X amount more times like willing and like happy and eager to help each other because we love each other, right? And with my front of house team, this actually really hard for me sometimes because I'm trying to express to them like, oh, like this dish, its origins are like these specific things that mean these specific things to my family, and I feel so weird sometimes about asking them to like these dishes the chefs owed to. I'm like, I like cringe sometimes at myself. I cringe at myself. Of course, all of our love for food came from our grandmothers. Of course, it all came from our
Yeah.
elders. It's not unique in that fashion.
Except for some people, it is.
Yeah. I,
Especially if you don't come from our communities, and so you have to be explicit in how you tell the story.
I always tell them. So what I usually tell them is like, I'm gonna go in a long-winded version of why this dish is this dish, and then you'll pick what you'll want to say about it. Make it your own.
Yeah.
You'll pick what you want to say about it, and they also have the emotional intelligence to like read the guests that come through. Sometimes if like they're like, oh, this guest is Mexican or this guest is Hispanic, they'll be like, they'll go a little deeper into like regionality of the dish, or what is actually the actual dish that is based upon. But if someone is like a little more removed from our culture, then they'll be like a little more like, oh, like this is the chef's like grandma's favorite.
Yeah. So regionally, would you say you're from like northern
The Central Valleys of
or,
Mexico.
or would you say you're from
I
Mexico
would say
City?
I'm from Mexico City, yeah, because
Yeah.
like I spent the bulk of
Formative,
my life,
yeah.
there. Although I still love flour tortillas, like the big ones, thin ones, like from the north, I still love them, and I still love machaca, like the dry beef with scrambled eggs.
Oh my god,
I love that shit.
Machaca just for breakfast. That's just. I
I
mean,
love
really
that.
any time, but I feel like for sure with scrambled eggs for breakfast. It's
Yeah,
just,
and like with like the salsa or like with the a la mexicana inside
Yeah.
of the eggs. Oh,
So I'm from California, which means I'm from Mexico.
pretty much. Yep.
and um, and I was partly raised by a Mexican family. So my childhood best friend, and her family ran like hella loncheras,
Ooh, cool.
And so I come from, and she's a chef. Her mom's a chef. Her uncle's a chef. Everybody makes food. And I don't think she watches this, but if she does, hey.
What's up, girl?
Yeah. But anyway, so she, they had lonchera, so there was food everywhere. Salsa, all kind of stuff everywhere. Cheese everywhere. Like sopitos, they were from Colima. So sopitos, like their pozole is verde, like their food is amazing. Like I mean, I can have beans, and I'm just like,
Beans are rad. You couldn't build an empire on beans.
oh my god. I mean, just everything, right? And it there is partly if you're from California, and I always talk about this, and not Mexican, it can be hard on you,
I feel for my friends that are like Cali Mexican,
Yeah. Yeah. So, but once I went to Mexico, and specifically to Mexico City, I was just like, wow, like Mexico is the greatest place on earth.
It really is.
Like top. I've been to all the places, and Mexico City specifically is because you can go to, you can be in the city, but you can also go somewhere right outside, and it feels, just like I don't know,
You
like
can go to Cuernavaca. You can like the beach is closed
yes,
enough.
like all these
Like
things.
everything you can drive out to
I
very
mean-
different experiences in between. Like 2 to 5 hours drives.
Or you can be in the city and you walk into a park and then you're in a complete, like, you feel like you're in the woods.
Yeah, if you go to Chapultepec and you go to the Castillo de Chapultepec, to the castle, it feels like you're in Europe. Like, it literally feels like you're in Europe.
Yep.
I mean, most of these things were, like, most of these aspects of Mexico City that look very European or, like, very, like, French, I would say, are, Porfirio Diaz.
Yeah.
He was a Francophile, everything was, like, Reforma was, like, modeled after Versailles. Like the avenue.
Yeah.
So, like, everything is...
That's what you see all day, every day, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then I think it's beautiful, like, you see, like, the bikes everywhere. Everyone's walking. Everybody is...
Everyone has dogs. Have you ever noticed? Everybody
has dogs. Everybody has dogs.
And they're all such good boys and girls.
I mean, you can go on, you can go to the plaza, get your limpia, and then, and then it's just like you keep doing all these things. There's just so much there. And how they have been able to, like, preserve the culture. Like, you go to a museum. If you're Mexican, you obviously pay less. And, like, just, it's so, the history is so important.
Yeah. It's a lot of, it's also everywhere. It's everywhere in Mexico City.
And so what I see here is that's true
I
and
love
not
New
true.
Orleans, by the way.
It's true and not true, because I think it is for the current history, and then I see things on your website that people don't acknowledge, like we're in Chitamacha land.
That's actually a very interesting...
So tell me about that. Like, how do you then, like, why is that important to have on your website?
I want to start by, like, saying, like, I know that a lot of people have land acknowledgements on their e-signatures on their websites now, that it's like,
that's maybe in the last 6 months, because it ain't been like that.
I actually had it like that because my friend Lydia has my sister Lydia has a very good friend, Lindsay. If you're listening to this, I love you. So Lindsay Martin, it's a part of the Chirimacha tribe, and my sister and her met at Anthropology on Canal Place. They were working together, right? And this girl would always, like, this is the story.
Oh my God, first of all, I love Anthropology.
My sister used to work there. So
Is it closed now? Sorry.
No, I don't know.
Okay, anyway, sorry.
But they were working together, right? And this girl would always be like, oh, like, my tribe this, my tribe that, my tribe this, my tribe that. Now, important to note, Lindsay's half white. Her mom is white, her dad is indigenous, like Chirimacha. And Lydia would be like, this bitch, and her tribe this and her tribe that. So Lydia was just, like, thinking that this was just, like, a silly white girl, just, like, being, like, calling her friend, her girlfriends her tribe. And one day Lydia had enough of it and was just like, that's really not appropriate. And this was years ago. And Lydia
is the one, huh? Lydia
was like,
just be saying all this shit.
And I hate that you call it your tribe because you sound stupid. And this girl was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm Chirimacha. I actually have a tribe. And then Lydia was like, oh, shit, my bad. And then she was like, and then they became friends. So, like, then, like, they would be like, you want to come? And she was like, yeah. So Lydia would be like, okay, I'm going to leave for the weekend. I'm going to go live my best rest life. And they would go to the Charrington, Louisiana, to the Chirimacha tribe's reservation. And they would, like, just, like, her dad, actually, Lindsay, Terry, if you're listening to this, I love you. Terry Martin was the the chairman and, like, the leader of the Chirimacha tribe, and was also part of Native American Congress, and he was one of the people that did some really huge things. So
I'm laughing because she was just like, this is really inappropriate, but her dad is like,
yeah. So it's a really funny story, right? And she's like, he was part of the lobbying group that got federal recognition to the Chirimacha tribe.
Which is really, really hard.
Which is really, really hard.
Yeah.
And then he's also part of, like, Chirimacha is one of the few indigenous languages that are on Rosetta Stone.
And
really? He also did that. Our friend Lindsay speaks Chirimacha.
Oh, yeah. Y'all gonna have to connect us to Lindsay then.
You should talk to her. She's a fabulous queer, like, badass. She wants to be a comedian. I always say, like, you're gonna be like, she's gonna be like Mindy Kaling one day, but Chirimacha, and it's gonna be incredible. And I believe in her so much. She's hilarious. So, like that, like, and through our relationship with Lindsay, her dad Terry, and her mom Rebecca, that is, like, and mainly our relationship really, really strengthened, I would say, 3 weeks after we opened Lengua Madre, because it coincided with Hurricane Ida.
Yeah.
So Lengua Madre was open for 3 weeks. Hurricane Ida happened,
Wow.
and we had to close it for 6.
Wow.
So out of those 6 weeks, I spent the first two, no, like nowhere else. We're in Charrington, Louisiana, in Franklin, with because it was the closest place, and like Lindsay's parents, Terry and Rebecca, opened the doors of their house to us, me, my sister, one of my best friends, Colleen, and my boyfriend Devon, and all of our dogs. So we were staying with them for almost 2 weeks. They live right on Bayou Teche, like right on the reservation. So we spent like I was fortunate enough to spend many afternoons with Terry, who's retired, just talking about his life, talking about him going to high school as an indigenous boy,
Wow.
and just talking about his life and about his life's work and like him being in DC and like him like kind of like leaning into the Republican Party and like a little bit of conservative and like his daughter being queer. So we just talked and talked and talked and talked, and that is why that is there.
Wow. That's deep. That's a real connection.
That's a real good. I love him. Like every time like something big happens for me in my career, he sends me a dozen white roses.
I
Uh,
love
he's wonderful. Rebecca, Lindsay's mom. I am in line to inherit all of her Magna Light pots because Lindsay is disgusted by raw chicken and she doesn't cook at all. So I'm like, can I have your pots? And she's like, yes, you can have my pots. So I'm really excited. I love Rebecca, but the day that she's not here with us anymore, I'm getting those pots. And so that's why that is there, because I was shown community, because I was shown history, because I was shown like hospitality, and like the doors of their home were open to all of us when we most needed it, and they're incredible. That's what that is there. You know,
I love that.
they're
That's so
wonderful
beautiful.
people.
I love that. Shout out to them for doing exactly what you're supposed to do, which is, be open. And we are
Some of the stories
definitely,
are rough, man.
yeah, I believe it. Yeah, we are definitely on stolen land. And so thank you for acknowledging that.
That's also he helped me a lot with my own identity, with helping me with my own identity journey, as like not only I've shared with him my struggles about my I'm white Pising, I'm this and this, I'm Mexican, and he's the first one that told me. I was like, well, I'm Mexican, whatever, and he was like, well, it didn't used to be Mexico, you know that. I said we were talking about something, and I was like, well, Texas used to be Mexico, and she was like, girl, it was someone else's way before that. And I was like, shit.
Yeah, real shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you? I'm curious. The concept of La Madre and just the like it's in a house, and so my best friend who I was telling you about just now, she they grew up obviously loncheras, and so in LA, I'm from LA, so loncheras are everywhere,
Everywhere.
right? Food trucks are just now like the thing.
Yeah, but
In the
before,
last and before that, it was just like for me, it was like our culture growing up, and yeah, how so then she like during the maybe before that, but during the pandemic she was having people over her house and she was cooking, and she was telling me there's all these Mexican words that sometimes I don't even know what it is, but a cenaduría.
a cenaduría. Yeah.
And so she was just like, yeah, the cenaduría, and I was just like, oh, you mean like I was trying to equate it to something else.
Supper club.
Yeah, or something. And she was just like, nah, fool. Like,
Like, nah, nothing like that. Not
and
really.
so is that like really the thinking behind it? Or like, what? Tell me about lengua madre. And I know that might be something different in Mexico, but just
Yeah, I think Lengua Madre is just like a first go at
Yeah.
it. Lengua Madre was my first go at it, at like believing in myself, at like it's not gonna be the last, like but it was an experiment. It was an experiment that has paid off, to see if Louisiana, New Orleans was ready. Like I don't think anyone comes to New Orleans and they're like, oh shit, yeah, let's go eat Mexican food.
Yeah.
People are more like, and I also wanted to give it that sense of place because I truly love this city, and it's given me so much, and I don't think where I would be in my career without it, without making the decision to move down here, and I owe it back a lot. So I want to continue to further explore my cuisine in Louisiana because I'm very attached to it and I love it, and I want to be a part of like making it better and like preserving it for others, and involve myself and educate myself in the history of this place. Like like what you said about Mexico, like history is everywhere in Mexico City. You can feel it. Like there's a very like ancestral thing to Mexico City. Like you can see how time has passed it by. You can see time. It's almost like you can feel time in Mexico City. And I feel very similar about this town.
Um, I have a question just about, there's so many people and young people in this city who, like they've migrated here and they ain't got they don't have all the things. They just trying to make it work and they trying to figure it out. And sometimes they do find themselves in a kitchen, you know, and they're trying to figure out, and food may or may not be their love, you know. Um, like, what advice would you give yourself? And, I don't know, did your family call you Anita?
Hmm.
So, what advice would you give Anita, thinking back? And then, what advice would you give a young person?
To myself, I would probably be to believe in myself more because I didn't. And to this day, still, I doubt myself a lot. Um, so I think that would be my advice. And also to listen to my instinct a little more. I've gone against my instinct many times. And put up with things that I shouldn't have for the sakes of like a dream that was sold to me by someone else that didn't care about the dream or me or anyone.
Yeah.
And I think to young people would be to pretty much try to apply what I just said. If something doesn't feel right, like to advocate for yourself. And I know that it's easier said than done, especially when like you're in a vulnerable position with your immigration status, with your this and that. With um, I know it's hard, but then find someone that can help you because there are people out there. Because there are like I know it's. I think one of my end goal in I'm a very planning person, 5, 10, 15 years from now. But I think my end goal at some point would be actually probably joining forces with Homero Lopez from Isla
Yeah.
at some point,
Yeah.
whenever, and pretty much do like the Donald Link Foundation. I want to do that,
Yeah.
but for immigration.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if in our lifetime New Orleans became a sanctuary city?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that fucking be awesome?
Yeah. Well, technically, it to the degree that we understand that we're actually running.
That we get federal funding for being a sanctuary city. Wouldn't that be insane?
Yeah. And I think even beyond that, it's like there's just basic shit we can do now.
The basic shit that we can do now.
Like
Yeah.
driver's license, like,
Yeah.
just
There's a lot of educating that needs to go into it. Like people tell me like, oh, like when like talking about some people, like why can't he just go back to Honduras and like go see his mom? I'm just like, are you fucking kidding, man?
Right.
He applied for asylum. He can't leave the country for like 15 years. Like like.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
a lot of education that needs to
A
be done.
lot of it. A lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a lot of it. I'm very lucky in the sense that like I have tremendously like very affectionate and very emotionally intelligent people in my team that they don't understand those like little we actually do have someone that is like like is here now on a permit. He like surrendered himself, everything. So
Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
Yeah. Real stuff out here. And sometimes we don't understand it, and so that's why it's so important to be kind and caring when you meet people, because you don't know what they're going through.
So in Lengua Madre we have a map, right? Big map of Mexico, and it's a laminated map, and it's on the side of the walk-in, and we have it there because it's easier for me. I'm a visual person, so it's easier for me when I explain to my team about like the origin of a certain chile or the maize or like a certain technique or a dish. I'm like, this is from here, and I with a dry erase marker, I'm like, this is from here. I'm like, so you can see how close to the ocean it is. So of course that's why they would have this ingredient. Or you can see how up in the mountains this is. So of course there's mushrooms. and so on. And one day I see this a person like looking at the map, and he's just like with a marker doing a couple X's. I'm like, what are you doing? And he was like, this is where I walked.
Mm,
Like, this was my route up to the States. And it was like swallowing a fucking brick. It was like,
yeah.
like,
Yeah. Um.
the X's are still there on the map.
Good. Good. Leave the journey up there.
Leave the journey up there.
Yeah. How did you become a historian?
Me?
Yeah.
Am I a
'Cause
historian?
shit. Yeah.
I don't know.
Fuck yeah.
I have really good memory, I guess.
I mean, if you telling people where different crops came from, and that's I mean, I also, again,
I read a lot.
we talk about ancestry a lot here at the organization on the pod. Um, because we believe we got to pass all that stuff on, and we can only pass it on if we have it, if we use it right, if we make it useful. And everything from like we need to be reconnected to the land, reconnected to the soil, right? And yeah, knowing where all these plants and crops and
I do a lot of
food come
reading.
from.
I do a lot of reading, and I like to be very informed, and I like to understand like the whole picture of things, and like I like it to make sense. I like it to like connect to why here, why now, why am I doing this, why is there the similarities between this dish that I can this particular preparation that I can use here in the Gulf of Mexico with what we have around us, right? So there's a lot of that. Again, my friend Steven, when I was talking to him, he told me that he felt like for me knowledge was a currency.
Mm.
I was like, yeah.
Well, I think knowledge is a currency, right? I think how you display knowledge and how you get knowledge, for people who don't read, it's like if you think knowledge only comes from books, then you wouldn't think that someone who doesn't read isn't
Also, it
knowledgeable,
comes from
right?
people talking, connecting,
Yeah.
connecting.
Exactly. Or just showing and doing, right? So, one of the things that we do at the organization, which I want to ask you to stay on for, is our rising ritual.
Ooh.
And so we're trying to learn how do we pass on different traditions, right? Like I know when I get sick, and so uh, well, I guess let's just move into the rising ritual.
Let's do it.
Yeah. When I get sick, I like chop garlic, I put honey on top, and then I eat the garlic, right?
We share that
And
one.
you share that, you do that
Well,
one as
I
well?
don't do that one. My grandmother does that one,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
she
So I
puts
want
a
to know
lot more
what are
nasty
some
shit in
food
it.
based. What are some things that we can do? What are some things that you do that it like either cures something or like let's get some knowledge
Hell
passed
yeah.
down.
I think my biggest one. When I was a kid, I suffered a lot from a lot of like styes, and
Oh,
like
okay.
my eyes are very sensible. That's why I wear very little makeup actually, is because
Okay.
my eyes are very sensitive. So my grandma would put chamomile tea bags on my eyes for cleaning them.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's something that she used to do. Another one from her is that she would say that when she was a kid,
And do you wet the tea bag?
yeah,
Okay.
you just like
In
you
hot
kind
water?
of brew it in like hot like medium hot, so
Okay,
it's
like
not too
warm.
hot, and then just kind of like make a couple droplets in your eye, and then just kind of like let the tea bags rest up on your eyes
Okay.
to like kind of like
Disinfect, yeah.
disinfect and like the swollenness and everything.
Yeah, because chamomile I think is an anti-inflammatory,
It's an
right?
anti-inflammatory, yeah.
Wow,
There's
okay.
so many like also like that chopped garlic thing that you said. Man, my grandma used to make this like disgusting ass concoction that was just like honey, the garlic, and then she also added a onion and an herb that is called cola de caballo. That it's supposed to be good for like your lungs or something. I don't know. It was awful.
Shit, I'm
It
gonna
was
go
like
to the store
it was
and be
like
like,
eating sticks. It was like literally like eating like sticky sticks, because it was dry.
Yeah.
It was like, and then you would dry, and then you would start coughing. Like, man, shit. If I wasn't sick before you gave me this, now I'm sick. And
Yeah.
then she would be like, shh, like shush you and give you like a glass of milk to chug it with, like
Oh,
to chase
shit.
it with. Disgusting. And then my grandma would say that when she was a kid, her parents used to cure everything with lime.
Yeah. So I used to have not styes, but something would like my eyes would
Oh,
they
when
would.
they close shop,
Yeah,
yeah.
and you had all the like I don't know, the
All the
nasty,
gunk.
all the gunk. And yeah, she used to pour lime
Shit.
in my eyes, right? And then and then honestly it would cure it.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know what's in the lime, but
My grandma would be
lime
like, if
for
I have a
everything.
scrape or anything with your dad would be like, just put lime on it, and she'll be like, at some points I
Okay,
would
and
like,
we always use lime. We never use lemon,
no
huh?
lemon.
And so it's so weird when people use lemon. For me, I'm just like, we don't use
I have a
lemon. We
lime
use
tree outside of my grandma's house, or the house I grew up in. There's a lime tree that has grown so tall, so it's like on the basement level. On the second level of the house, that's where the dining room is, and there's this big windows. And when the lime tree is like bumping, there's like the tree protrudes into the dining room a little bit, and it's my favorite spot. I think it's one of my favorite places in all of the world. Is that these limes are there, and you can actually just reach your hand out and grab a lime from the tree.
I love that.
Actually, I have like a lime tattoo.
Oh, nice!
And
I love that.
when I showed it to my grandma hates my tattoos. And when I showed it to her, I was like, "Mom, grandma, but it's like the lime." I was like, "Mama, but los limones, mira." And I pointed the tree, and she's like, she kind of like, and then she's like, "You want to go get one together?" And she's like, "No." She's like, "No." But she got her like eyebrows tattooed. And I'm like,
Right.
She's very vain. She's very vain. And I'm like, your eyebrows tattooed. That's just exactly the same. And she's like,
Yeah. So limes are really special to me too in general.
ancestral citrus.
Yeah, ancestral. Yes. But so my mom passed about a year and a half ago, and
I'm
then
sorry.
thank you. Yeah, I'm living with it. It's I'm living a new life. How your grandma said. But one of the things that we do that's kind of like I guess a custom in our family is uh, when somebody, say if somebody left their house and were trying to get to the United States and, se vinieron por tierra or something like that, they would plant a tree before they go.
Ah.
And if someone dies, like you plant a tree. And so my dad flew here. He hadn't gotten on a plane in like 20 years. He flew here and he planted a lime tree for my mom. There was my mom's lime tree. And then that's now my tree. So I got to take care of it. So listen, when the first limes come out, we got to make some more micheladas or something.
100%. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's
So
we're
limes are
very
really
similar, Maria. We're very similar. My grandma always says that in a lifetime, a woman needs to plant a tree and write a book. That's what she said to me since I was a child.
Your grandma said that?
Mhm.
Wow.
Plant a tree and write a book. And I told her once, I asked her, like, what's your book? And she told me I was her book.
Uh,
Like, she's like, you're my book. Like,
Yo,
and
that's amazing.
I'm a little bit on a time crunch. I really wanted to write a book, and everybody's like, it takes like 2 years to write a book, right? And I
They have book doulas now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
wanna
someone
tell-
who's going to help you birth the book.
I want to tell that to my friend Nini, who's writing a book.
Yeah. I've been thinking about writing a book.
You should.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it too, and I just want to write it so I can give it to my grandma and be like, so she can hold
Here's
it in
your
her
book.
hands before she passes. And
Wow.
she'll be like, "Here's my
Oh,
book."
you got to get it done, sis.
I know. I have so much shit going on.
I
like,
know.
I know. You
Make
know
a
what?
picture book at the very least.
I'm gonna make a little one, just like 50 pages. She's like, eh. But yeah. So yeah, I'm very lucky though. I feel
Yeah.
very lucky. I feel
Yeah.
very lucky to be here. I'm very lucky to have the opportunity to express everything that I do.
I love
food.
that. I love that. Okay, is there any a cure, something with food that you would do? We got your grandma's, which is the chamomile tea bags.
Mine. This is a very New Orleans one though.
Okay.
Anytime I'm sick, like a little bit of like respiratory infection or anything, the only thing that I will eat is pho. The only thing that I will go eat is pho, and I will put a asshole of lime and serrano, jalapenos, like just like herbs, just like, and just drink the hot broth. Just like, but like it's wild. I don't get me wrong, I love Vietnamese food, but specifically pho is only when I'm sick.
Why do you say I love that, and why do you say that's a New Orleans thing? Because I would never think of pho for New Orleans. I would.
Because I've never had pho before. I kind of like
You
once,
lived in New York City, and
I had it once in New York. I was dating this guy was Asian, and he bought a motorcycle. And I believe my family has a deep, weird history with motorcycles. There's a couple of my family members that have passed away in motorcycles, so we have like a weird, like, love hate affair for motorcycles. So he picked me up from work, and he was in a motorcycle, and I was terrified on getting on this thing. But we went, and we went to Midtown, K Town, and we went to a fall place. That was the first time I've had it. It was also the last time I saw this guy. Because
Because it wasn't popping.
I was like, and from there, like, I don't think maybe I had it, but it didn't take such a center stage for me as
So now
Vietnamese
it's
food does for me
New
now.
Orleans, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Where do you get your pho here in New Orleans?
I go to I live in Gretna, so I go to Tam Dinh.
Okay.
Before I used to love Pho Cam Lai.
Okay.
That was my favorite. Sadly it closed, but Pho Cam Lai had like a very beautiful broth, like very like just like not like almost no grease, like no fat at all, and just very deeply spiced.
Yeah.
And now I'm very lucky to have befriended Chef Nini Nguyen, who is from like she's from like Louisiana. She's Vietnamese, and I think honestly some of the best Vietnamese food I've ever eaten in my life, I eat it at her house.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's that chef life though, homie. You got
Yeah.
chef friends.
Yeah, she's a chef. She doesn't have a restaurant or anything. She's like, she's a content creator. She was in Top Chef. She was like, she's done so many things, but she's fucking rad.
Nice.
She's like one of
I
like,
love that.
she's a very talented person, like, a very organically talented person. It's almost like, it doesn't seem like she works too hard for it. Like, it's like very innate in her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love hearing you point out other people's talents. I want you next time we talk. I want to hear that for you.
I'm gonna get better at it. I promise. Cause like we were talking about how like anytime that someone introduces me, I go like, oh, like I do my catfish face, like. But I think I'm gonna start doing something funny for myself. You know how people when you're getting flowers, when you're getting like all your shine, people like snap their fingers.
Yeah.
Like hell yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know how to snap my fingers. I can't. So I think it'll be like a little joke to myself that I'm trying to both own it but also still being silly goofy.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and I'll go like this with my because I can't snap my fingers. I just like never learned. I've tried so many times. So I think that's gonna be my new thing. I'm just gonna be like.
I love it. All right. Well, I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you for coming.
I'm
Thank
so
you for
grateful
being
for
here.
your time. Thank you for having me.
Yes. And yeah, I just feel like one, people should definitely come to Lengua Madre. People should find you online. How?
So Lengua Madre is open Wednesdays through Sundays, from 5:30 to like 9:30 depending on the day. And it's in the Lower Grand District, 1245 Constance. Instagram is a really good way to find us if you use Resi as a platform. Like it's also really great to find a table there.
Right, because you can't just like pop up and say,
You
"Oh,
can if you don't have a million annoying allergies, like if you have a corn allergy, just don't come. Like if you're allergic to maize or nightshades, this is very important. If you're allergic to like chiles, tomatoes, or corn, TBH, don't waste my fucking time.
Yeah.
Like I cannot explain to people enough.
But if you just get acid reflux, take your pill and then come through.
Like, exactly. But I just like you can't ask me like is the corner store of like Mexican cuisine. It's like, oh my god, like what am I supposed to feed you? But if you just want to keep up with my daily musings and my shit talking, you can follow me on my personal Instagram. But you all being warned, so we take no prisoners. And
Right.
Ana Banana _Castro, we take no prisoners.
I love that. Okay, well, cool. I think that we need to. Are we? We have a journal.
Oh my god, thank you so much. I love notebooks so much. You have no idea how much I love notebooks.
Oh, see, look, there we go.
I have so many notebooks. Anytime I get another one, my sister is like, Another notebook. Another notebook. I actually don't have a teal one. So
Oh,
this is
well,
great.
there you go.
Thank you.
Listen, and when you have a Chinga la Migra shirt, we just printed a new batch. Since we actually first did this for Omero, I talked to Omero today. We first did this for remember they had like a backyard something at Grodat.
I was there.
Yeah, you were there. He told me you were there, and I was like, I didn't know you were. We didn't meet then, but we did the t-shirts for then, and since then, Isla now started their Chinga la Migra t-shirt and kind of tote bags, and we brought ours back.
I was at that backyard barbecue event, and I remember being. I was the busiest stall at
I
that
believe
event.
it.
You know what I made?
What?
Watermelon wedges, cold watermelon wedges that were kept in a cooler with tahini and
With the
lime
hin,
juice.
I bet.
And that's all I made. And everybody had like this intricate like things, and I was just like, it is 800 million degrees out. I'm bringing cold
It's really, really
watermelon.
hot.
I'm bringing cold watermelon, and I'm gonna thrive.
And you did.
Yeah, I'm like, that's all I'm gonna do. Like anyone, it's a backyard barbecue. There's a water slide. All I want is a
Yeah, yeah.
watermelon wedge.
Yeah, with tahin.
With tahini.
With
Obviously.
tahin.
Obviously with tahini. Always with tahini.
Okay, so next, we'll have to have some more micheladas together.
Please.
Let's do it.
Let's do it off air, on air, whenever
Right,
you
right,
want.
right. Okay, listen, and right, because now I got your brain. I'm like, where's your favorite this? Where's your favorite that? I remember I asked some chef. Oh, I think it was Joaquin from Bacchanal.
I love Joaquin.
I love Joaquin too. Joaquin is like top for me. But I was just like, Joaquin, I
He's
don't
a
know.
mentor to me.
I love him. I think he's like a really like just a beautiful person. I was like, yo, like, I'm not really a good cook. Like, what should I like what's the first thing I need? He was like, salt and pepper. I was like, what if I'm like trying to cook some shit that's like
I'll disagree with Chef Joaquin in there. You know what?
What?
I actually almost use no black pepper in my cooking.
oh, interesting.
I use it when it's needed for a recipe or for something. But the idea that people use black pepper as a duality with salt, I completely, fully disagree with.
Why?
I don't know, because it's just kind of like it's not always necessary. Salt, of course, but pepper, there's like the world of spices. After going to India, after living in India for 6 months, the world of spices is so vast. In
And
India,
there's just like tubs and tubs of different spices.
it's so many, and if you go to the spice farms and everything, it's just like endless. It's endless. So pepper is not always like a
Okay.
yeah.
And I wouldn't use salt. I just use pepper.
That's crazy.
You're like, nah.
Like,
That's why your ass don't know how to cook.
That's crazy.
All right. Bueno, salud.
Salud.
A la vida.
Gracias.
So, let's move on to the juice.
The juice. Who
The
you giving the
juice.
juice to this week? What's up? Who
Man,
you got?
like really, there's so many people. I actually just saw that Angela Bassett got the honorary Oscar award, and so they really could given it to her for her last
So well
performance.
deserved.
Right.
Pick
and
one.
for so many, I picked
Pick
any
one.
of them, right? But one, shout out to her. But
Yeah.
I just feel like there's so many people and so many things. I feel like I heard that Nia Long is doing a book, and so
on.
I want to give the juice to her. But also, like, we had 150, maybe close to, I don't even want to say because,
Yeah.
we were kind of over the limit in terms of space capacity. But yeah, we had about 150, 175 people on the roof last Friday for Grounding Grooves.
So dope.
So
dope.
Grounding Grooves is an event we do. So I feel like every single one of them needs the juice, right?
Yeah.
They have the juice. They
Yes.
they need the award because they came out. We were launching our Black Sanctuary
Yes.
website,
Yes.
and so we'll put those links up. And yeah, they came out. They were in the vibe. They were, we had.
Felt so good.
It felt so good.
Everybody was in spirit. Everybody
We had the
was,
land acknowledgement. We
yeah.
had the libations. We had
collective breathing.
come
and
on,
meditation.
yeah. We had movement. We're getting to
Then
the
we,
body.
Then we danced.
Hello,
Then we threw it
Legatron.
Yep. Shout out to Legatron.
Yeah, made it happen.
Shout out to the Rolling Cocktail, Bobby Ray. Shout
Yeah.
out to 14 Parishes. Like
yeah.
black and brown vendors, like we always do. Like,
Yeah.
It was a beautiful space, beautiful time, and
Yeah.
I think and it just goes right in time. It goes right in hand with Black Sanctuaries, how we are promoting this website and maintaining and building this website.
So the website is a resource map of
Definitely.
where all the resources are in the city
Yes.
that Black people can access.
So important.
Everything from housing to mental health
Yeah.
support to food, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So
Which is super important. I mean, New Orleans is a good buddy of mine is known for a phrase here that says everything you love about New Orleans is because of Black people. Shout out to Flim, who said that. And so we're so entrenched in this culture and so important to this culture, and I think that it's just time for us to reclaim our
yeah,
spaces, and not only reclaim our spaces, reclaim our safe spaces.
yeah.
So I just think it's
And
dope.
those who operate on behalf of us,
Yeah.
right? And those people who serve, Black people, we have to teach them how to treat us. We
Come
have to
on.
train them. If you ain't gonna get out the way, let me at least tell you how this needs to be done,
Yeah.
right? And
I love that.
so yeah, I really that work came out of our last Black August dinner, and so Black August is coming up, so we're gonna have to
Coming up.
ramp up with that, right, and
Tap
get a whole new campaign going, and so yeah, all is well, all is well. They got the juice.
beautiful.
We were so beautiful up
was so
there.
beautiful.
Everybody looked good.
Man, kudos to you.
It was
You came
hot
up,
as hell.
yeah. You came up with this very dope idea that I've been thinking about even since, and something I think that we're gonna keep. But the whole giving of the flowers, this idea
Oh
you came
yeah,
with the
yeah.
fresh flowers that were colorful. I mean, but even more so, just I watched people engage with other people. I watched other people give people their flowers in real time, whether they knew them. Some people they knew, some people they didn't know. It was cool to get a flower, like it was. So it was. I just think that that's important for us
Yeah,
to
I
take
got me a
time.
flower too.
Come on, I said,
You
you had a
know,
bouquet.
yeah.
Huh? Come on,
I got
man.
me a flower too. I told them leave them there for the people though.
Thank you. But nah, that was super dope. We got to do more of that as
Yeah.
a community.
Oh dang. Okay, so I
Yeah.
wanted to. I
Oh,
should have
yes.
talked about this and putting you on, but let me move this out
Touch
the
on
way
the
really
pillow,
quick.
yeah.
Yeah. So this is from LaSalle and Jackson. I forget my sister's name, but there was a vendors downstairs. And of course, I bought all the things from all the vendors. But I bought this pillow, and it has now become my therapy pillow.
Yes.
And I just hug it. I keep it here at the office,
Love it.
and it's so heavy, and it's so beautiful, and so yeah. Anyway, it's beautiful.
Love it.
You can buy them from her. We'll also put her stuff up on the site.
LaSalle, yeah, she has some beautiful stuff.
Yeah,
LaSalle
LaSalle Jackson. I think that's it. Man, thank y'all for joining us. We had an amazing show. We had Chef Ana Castro.
So good.
We had, hello, we now have Nate joining us. And so, yeah, look, all is well. All is well. Check us out. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Make sure you're checking us out also on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Leave a rating. I don't know. Yeah, let your friends know.
Leave us a review. Leave us a review. If you leave us a review and you go to the Black and Brown Get Down podcast IG and leave us a screenshot of your review, we might pick somebody to give you a little something. So
Okay. Oh, we're doing a raffle. Okay, we're gonna do an official
Little
raffle.
something, yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, love y'all, and I hope you guys have a great I don't know, week. We'll talk to you soon. Love you. Bye.